Hi everybody, and welcome to another part of the Django tutorials. In this part we're going to continue with the template tags in Django. So next up we've got if changed. We use if change at the times that we want to check whether a kind of a tag on the HTML code has changed. So whenever it gets changed, we check whether it's changed or not, and if it's changed, then we apply some other changes probably, or do some kind of action. So this is a very handy kind of a template tag that you can use to check if a HTML tag is changed or not. So it's a kind of a if statement that we do not generally have in Python, but we can use it here in order to skip the parts that are not changed and check the parts that are changed and take an action accordingly. Also, we can use this for the variables. So we want to check if a variable is changed in, for example, a kind of a list or something, or even a variable is changed, so that we can take an action accordingly. And if not, we can skip ahead and wait until it gets changed. So this way we can skip so many of the tasks, daily tasks or routine tasks that we have, and we can just save a lot of time and space and memory and processing power of the app or whatever it is. So this if change is gonna be a lot useful for you. So next up, what we have here, let me take a look at the list, and we've got a couple of more useful stuff here. So we've got if changed, if, and so next up we've got load. So we use load whenever we want to import something important from our file text, our actually code files, for example, something.py. So you want to get the variable from there on the back end and use it on the front end. So for example, you want to load a kind of a variable that you've been using on your views.py, or a kind of a variable from your forms, or whatever that is. You can load it right over here and use it. Or you want to get a dictionary from somewhere, and from some library or something like that, and use it inside of your template. You can use load and load that variable here. So it can be used for so many different kinds of circumstances, but generally you can use load tag. I'm not gonna enter into more details. So next up, what we've got here is, let's take a look at this list. So it's a very long list, most of which are not gonna be useful, but we're gonna get into the most important ones. So next up we have the URLs. URLs are really important, especially at the time that you want to get a URL from your urls.py. So the way to write it is to write just any other template tag, and then you add the URL, meaning that you want to introduce a URL to this HTML code. So here we've got URL, then you enter the URL name from your urls.py of the endpoint that you've defined in the URL, and then you can use it in the form of some variables, and then you can use it inside of your code in order to introduce a kind of a link in your, for example, a tag or any kind of href. So the way to use it is, for example, you define this variable, this URL as this kind of variable. The name of the variable will be the URL or anything you like. And then whenever you want to use it, you can use double brackets. So first of all, you need to use the double quotes, don't forget that, and then double brackets, and then the URL, which is the name that you've defined here as to be used instead of this name of the URL, right? So once you do this, once you enter this URL link here, once the user clicks on that link, will be redirected to that URL that you've defined here. So you can use it anywhere you like, whether it's on the nav bar, it's on the table, it's on anything you like, or it could be a link to the product details page. So for example, you want to create a list of the products on the website. It could be kind of marketing website or anything like that on the search result page. So you click on that product link and you get into the details page, right? So you need that link to be in there. You want the user to click on it. So then you will leave the URL or the href tag in there in order for the user to click on it. So notice that we have this kind of thing on the HTML by using href, but here you can enter the URL from your Python Django project and use it like that. This is going to make your job much easier. The next template tag that I'm going to talk about is the static files. So remember the static files from the previous course. We used to work with them a lot for placing the images on a specific folder called the static, and then we would use the static files, load them here, and use them on our front-end page. So right now we can use this load static in order to load the static files, and the static files consist of the JPG images, videos, or it could be the JavaScript codes, CSS style sheets, and so on. So here imagine that we've got this JPG image, and so we want to get the source of the image from this static files using the img tag. And then so the way to do this is to write in the src. So this part is HTML, also this part, but this part is the Django template language, right? So we kind of mix the Django template language with HTML. And the way to do this, when we want to address the src, we would give a link to the static files like this. So we write double quotes and then brackets and then %, and then static. So and right over here we enter the root directory of the static files. So if you are here, imagine that we have a static images and hide.jpg. So we don't write the static because we've already loaded the static. So we write the images / hide.jpg or any other name of the image that you have. Or sometimes you want to enter the style sheet, right? So you want to give a link to that style sheet. So you have the CSS file somewhere on your static files. So on your static folder, so here you write, for example, rel equals to style sheet, and then href, and then here you enter person static, and then user style sheet, which is what you've the kind of file that you have for a CSS file. So in this way you can use the static files. The next template tag is extends, and we use extends at the time when we want to have a kind of a repeated task for all of our web pages. For example, we want to have a nav bar in all of the web pages, and instead of copying and pasting the code in every web page or every HTML file that we want to place on the templates, we would create something like base.html, and we would import that base.html in all of the HTML codes that we have. So instead of writing those repeated codes in all of our HTML codes, we write extends base1.html, which is the general template of all of the web pages, and then we add the different parts in all of those HTML codes. So for example, we want to have the nav bar on the home page, and also on the about us page, and also on the product page, and on the about us, about more info, about the help. So on all of these HTML codes, we want to have some mutual parts, right? Or the parts that are in common. So we use those parts in common to write them on the base.html, and then we import them by writing the extends base.html, and then we skip those parts in all of the other HTML codes, and automatically those parts will be contained in all of your web pages. This is a technique that we use on the DTL, or by using the Django template tags in order to skip those unnecessary codings on every web page. So this is a very useful template tag in your Django project. Now imagine that you want to declare a variable in your front-end language. So imagine that, for example, you want to define total to be some kind of variable that is defined this way, business.employee.count. So in that way, you can just use the with template tag. So you write it this way: with total equals business.employees.count. Then you will use total like this. You will have the double bracket again, and then you can create an action on that specific variable like this. So it could be, I don't know, changing the variable, or if it's a number, you can just multiply it, or if it's a string, you can apply some changes on the string. For example, here it pluralized the total amount and then ends the process. So we also have end with at the end, so notice that you should write it in a correct format. And if you have noticed, whenever we want to use a kind of a variable that we've defined before, we use a double bracket. This is important. And also notice that we sometimes use it for loops, right? So whenever you want to use a kind of variable that you have loaded or you have defined in the for loop, or you have defined it using with template tag, you will be able to use it this way. And also, like any other programming language, we have comments here in this DTL or Django template language. So if you want to comment some part, you can add comment like this and end comment like this. So for example, you want to comment p tag, which is like this. You can start bracket %comments, and you can add optional note here, or you can just leave it alone and then end the comment like this. So in this way, you can comment a specific line or a specific set of lines. Anyway, that's it for this part of our tutorial and also the template tags. So we've introduced some of the most important template tags. However, if you want to become familiar with all of them, I will give a link in the description, and you can study all of these template tags in order to become familiar with all of the tools that you have in the template tags. However, if you learn these template tags that I've introduced, it can be easy working with the template tags in the Django projects. We'll also be working with these tools in the upcoming projects that we will work on in the next videos. So until the next videos, goodbye.